Stay hungry, stay foolish.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I have a dream. Will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Hey there, listener. Thanks for stopping by. Before we get the podcast started today, I just wanted to tell you about my Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the podcast and donating some money, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/KIPPOD. And there's 3 separate tiers there where you can get exclusive content, ad-free content, and you can even suggest questions for me to ask future guests on the podcast. So guys, make sure to check out my Patreon. Also, make sure to share this podcast on your social media accounts, link it to Spotify, review it on Apple. I would very much appreciate that. So thanks, guys, and enjoy the episode. All right, starting over.
Okay.
Testing. Hold on. Come on.
Did you want me to keep talking? Do you want me to pause?
After you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Testing. And then is yours.
Testing.
All right. Yep, there we go. All right. Take 2. Hello and welcome to the Knowledge is Power podcast. I'm your host, Max Willett, and today my guest is Amanda Zariello of Restore Physical Therapy. And Amanda, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business?
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Amanda Zariello, and I am from Cranston, Rhode Island. I went to Cranston High School West for high school, and from there I went on to the University of Rhode Island to study kinesiology and health exercise science. I knew I always wanted to do physical therapy actually in high school, so I applied to colleges that had physical therapy programs, which led me to URI. And I actually ran track and field at URI, and I played a little rugby too.
Oh.
And so I went to Sacred Heart Physical Therapy School for grad school, graduated in 2013 from PT school, and then from there I went on to work for a small family business in Warwick, Rhode Island, and then 2 years ago I opened up Restore Physical Therapy.
That's very cool. So what sort of, so physical therapist, a lot of people know what that is, but do you specialize in anything? I mean, I hear you talk about different things all week, especially through BNI. So, I mean, do you guys specialize in anything?
So Restore Physical Therapy, we help active adults and athletes just continue to live a healthy, active lifestyle. The biggest thing that makes us different from other physical therapy clinics is we spend a little bit more time with our patients compared to other traditional settings. And we don't specialize in one particular area. We treat the whole body. So we'll treat people with neck pain, back pain, ankle pain, hip pain, knee pain, you name it, chronic pain. People suffered with pain for a long time. We work with a lot of different athletes. We're actually located in my husband's gym called Olympia Fitness and Performance. So they work with a lot of high school and college athletes. So, athletes that play sports all year round, tend to run into some injuries, aches and pains along the way. So we help that population. We help middle-aged people who just want to, stay fit and mobile and avoid surgery and avoid medication and injection. So we really promote just overall health and wellness and in a conservative way. So.
Cool. So I guess, so you said you worked for somebody else before you started your own business. What was the breaking point that said, all right, I don't want to work for somebody, I want to start my own business?
It's a great question. It's a great story behind that. Okay. So I worked for a traditional clinic which accepted insurance. And I was promoted to open up a satellite office for this clinic in North Kingstown. So I learned how to basically start a new clinic from the ground up. And I learned how to hire people. I learned how to manage people. I learned how to deal with kind of the administrative stuff, which I didn't love. But I also realized, so I had profit sharing in this company. So that gave me some incentive to, grow the business. Yeah. But I realized because of that incentive, the more people you see, the more money the clinic will make. But that wasn't really why I went to school. That's not why I became a physical therapist. I felt like I was getting burnt out. So I was treating maybe up to 15 to 20 patients a day, every half hour, one after the next, no break. And you just can't get people better that way, at least as quickly as you could if you had a little bit more time with them. So one of the main reasons why I went on my own was, number one, I wanted to do my job better, and I wanted to make a bigger impact on my patients. And so I did a lot of research on cash physical therapy practices, which is actually very well known, like all around the country and even other parts of the world. And because of the restrictions that insurance companies place on everything, it makes it so hard to treat the person the way they deserve to be treated. And so I decided to go out on my own and open up a cash PT practice, which basically allows me to spend more time with the patient and treat the whole person and not just what the insurance is allowing me to treat. And so it just becomes between me and the patient, and there's no third party like the insurance companies. And so that's one of the main reasons.
That's pretty interesting. So the insurance company would limit what you could do during the time you had with the patient.
Yes.
That's kind of sketchy.
So for example, say you come to see me and you have an elbow ache going on your right side and your left knee is hurting you too. Instead of allowing me to treat everything at once, like you come in for a session, we make a program for both of those body parts. They'll tell you, no, you have to go back to a doctor. You have to get another script for your left knee. You have to pay more money for another appointment. Where Restore, we treat the whole person. Like you come in with the whole picture, and we work on all of it.
Cool. So, and another great thing is that since your husband has his gym there, you can sort of work together in conjunction, and it's sort of like a perfect world.
It is.
And I mean, honestly, I guess there was this place in Wakefield called Olympia too as well, but I think they got bought out by somebody.
Oh, interesting.
Because I went there to play when I played baseball.
Okay.
I went there and they did they had a small sort of gym, but it really wasn't a gym because it was only for like classes. Like they had like the South Kingstown baseball team would go there and practice.
Okay.
And I got invited by some friends who went there. I didn't play for South Kingstown. I went to Cherahoe.
Yeah.
But that's like the only thing I can think of that's closest to what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of special to have that all in one spot.
Yeah, there's not many places that have what we have in Rhode Island, because we have physical therapy and the sports performance training, and they also have other programs. So we developed like post rehab, so someone that's had physical therapy just for an injury or even like a total hip or knee replacement, but they need a little bit more structured and help guidance with exercise, they can kind of transition into those programs. And because really that's the other big thing about insurance, they limit how many visits you have. So I've treated people with an ACL injury and they only allow like 12 visits, which you need like 5 to 6 months recovery.
Yeah.
So this allows us to be able to give them what they need, and they can transition into the gym for further treatment, basically.
Yeah. So onto your business again. When you first started, what did you think was the biggest hardship to get over?
I felt like I had a lot of ideas, a lot of things I wanted to do. So it was kind of prioritizing like where to focus my energy and what, because there's just one of you when you first open a business. So I had trouble kind of figuring out where to put my energy at first, but and also financially, I was taking a big risk. I was going to lose an income that I was consistent, and then so I played all the cards in my head, worst case scenario, what am I going to do? I kind of did a little bit of that before I went all in, but luckily I had a lot of resources and help with friends, family who've had businesses. Luckily my husband owns a business and he's been in it for a while now, so that was helpful. But I was able to, I always worked a per diem home care job on the side. So like someone has a total hip replacement, they can't go to outpatient. So I picked up hours there while I was building up Restore. And then after a year of working, I was able to quit that extra job and just put all my energy into Restore physical therapy.
Yeah, that'd be nice because I'm still working as well. So, I mean, it'd be nice if I could do this full time.
Yes.
But it's tough because when you're working another job, you have to, that's income coming in, and you want to do good at that job because you need that income, but then you also want to build your business, and there's like a happy medium you have to find there.
Yeah.
But luckily, I work for a great person, and he's understanding of where I'm at in my life.
That's
and
awesome.
so it's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I recommend is that you have to put all your energy into one thing when you think you're not ready. But then, because then it does just it comes back to you quicker than you think.
Yeah. So one thing we talked about in my first podcast was when you hire people, and this is for companies that are further down the road. I'm not going to be hiring anybody, but I'm seeing a lot of people, especially now. Just from I know Amanda through our BNI chapter, just like a new Benjamin last week. But when it comes to hiring people, what do you think is the most important thing to look into an employee?
So I think even before you hire someone, you really need to write down like what your values are for your company. So you can figure out what's really important to you and then find people that, have those same values and respect those same values. I was lucky. I hired an employee in July right before I went out on maternity leave because, he was going to pretty much be taking over the business for 3 months so I could stay home with the baby. Yeah. So that was important for me to find someone that I could trust. And I think just being transparent about what you're looking for, this is stuff that's important to you, what's non-negotiable, what is negotiable, and just being open to that. And, I think personality is everything, especially what we do. Like, we care for people. We need to take care of them. People trust us. Yeah. And they're, they might feel vulnerable talking to us about certain things. So we need to just have a space for that, like a safe place for them to talk to us. And and with our type of job, being in the medical field, it's important for someone that has those same, attributes, caring.
Yeah. So another question I wanted to ask you, and as it comes back to me, I'm going to keep talking because I literally just forgot it right when I was going to ask you it. So what do you think? Oh, marketing. That's what I was going to talk about.
Right.
All right. So what was the biggest thing that, put you over that initial hump? Like, I have a client base. This is do you think maybe it was word of mouth, or was it online marketing like Google Ads?
100% word of mouth. Yeah. That is how I grew my business. I had a following from where I used to work because I had repeat customers that would come back to see me from when I first, when I worked for someone else. And some of those people did follow me to Restore. And then all it takes is you do a good job with someone, they're going to tell someone else. So what I would do is I would take advantage of what I looked at what's working, what's not working. Like, what is bringing me more customers? Word of mouth. So how can I keep making that work? So when someone is discharged, they graduate from physical therapy, email them, thank you for their, trusting us with their care. Would you do me a huge favor and write me a Google review so I can continue to help other people? Yeah. Start with that. Just, ask giving them a referral card so they can give it to someone else. So and then who do I know? Like, one of the ways we got new patients in is doing workshops. So going out in the community and talking about how to prevent injuries in the soccer player, how to prevent injuries in the runner. And so if I treated a runner, I would ask them, who do you run with? Like, would you guys be interested in having a workshop? And so that's what I used to continue to work with that.
That's pretty, that's pretty cool because especially now, while social media is very prevalent in any company's marketing, Oreo has a Twitter account. Like nobody goes and looks up reviews on Oreos.
I know.
But they still have one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting to see how different companies. And then it's like I was talking to somebody about JobLot.
Mm-hmm.
They're an $800 million company.
And they have a lot of real estate in Rhode Island.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this company has the worst website of any retail store.
Right.
But somehow they're able to stay alive, and I have no clue how they did it because it's retail, and you see retail stores closing down all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sears was a big one. They're just like Rhode Island, New England,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, and they were massive
Totally.
for like 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just gone now. Like, there's a tiny one in North Kingstown, right over near Quonset.
Yeah.
And
I know.
it's just weird to see how a company like JobLot is still in business
I know.
when Sears was just a better store,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I don't remember Sears so much. I remember JobLot, and I just know my parents love to get garden supplies there. And you know what JobLot does? The only reason why I know this because my parents tell me all the time. You spend $50, and they give you $50 to spend. So you get two for $100, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's I don't know that I think that if you take care of your customers and you give. Like givers gain, right? You give,
Yeah.
they're gonna come back to you. People will remember that.
Yeah, it's just super weird because word of mouth is so powerful, and you see marketing companies, every marketing company you see come on that visits our BNI group, or you see run Google ads. They always say social media, Google ads, and I run Google ads. I mean, my business is primarily online.
Yeah.
And in order for me to get word of mouth, eventually I'll have to build a customer base, which is just like any other business. But in order to get that initial customer base, I need to run Google ads.
Totally.
I need to have, because I'm not
It's different.
in retail or in person.
Yeah, in person service.
So
Yep.
those Google ads help me out even more. I mean, I have 5 stars right now, but I only have 12 reviews.
Yeah.
So I would like to get more reviews.
So every time you make something for someone, ask them.
Exactly. And a lot of times, like if somebody bought something on my website, I'll just be like, hey, I'll give you 10% off if you leave me a Google review. And it's that important to me that I'm willing to give somebody a discount.
Money for it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's basically paying them to leave a review, which is great. I mean, and a lot of times, even if the item you sell them is a little iffy and then you give them a discount on the next one,
They're happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll still give you 5 stars.
Yeah. I know.
But I mean, luckily I make great products every time.
Right.
Not to toot my own horn, but it's just interesting to see how that works.
Yeah, I definitely made some mistakes when I first started, and I invested in Google ads, and I had no money.
Yeah.
So I had no money to spend on Google ads, and you have to spend a good amount.
It's a car payment.
Yeah.
I mean, they tell you have to spend at least $8 a day.
Yeah.
And then even like Facebook ads is like $15 a day.
Yeah.
Like that is a really nice car.
Yeah.
Like that is a $20,000 car.
It's hard to do when you're a small business.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like word of mouth is the best because not only does it work, it's free most of the time.
And certain things on social media are free. So I would always, what is free that will make it work? So like going on Facebook Live and just talking about what you do, like your YouTube channel is free, you know, like what can you do that's free and that just you record all this stuff and it's green content. It's, you know, you have it forever. So you can use it, repurpose it later. It's not wasted time. And you know, every once in a while we'll get a new customer. Oh, we found you on Instagram because, you know, someone tagged someone and you know what? It's a small percentage, but then we'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes people find me online and it's massive customers that I would never find because 3D printing is something that's nationwide and it's not like I'm focusing on this corner of Rhode Island. Like eventually I want everybody to know about me. Like there's this company called Protolabs in Minnesota, and they do what I do just on a larger scale with industrial printers.
Okay.
And they're sort of like my dream company, what I want to build this into. But I still think that they don't do enough social media. Like they do social media, but it's not personalized. People really like personalized social media content that you can relate to
and easy to talk to.
Exactly.
Easy language.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all like, look at our massive facility.
I
Look at
know.
all of our machines.
Yes.
Look how great we are. It's not like, this is how we got started. This is what we're doing. This is what we're hoping to do.
This is what we're passionate
Exactly.
about.
Like, there's no face to the company. I mean, maybe I should do some more research. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, people relate and they want to hear the stories. Like that's one of the things that we try to do is tell stories of our success stories of our patients. Like
that's why I started this podcast.
Yes, exactly. Like people like hear something that they can resonate with, and they're like, oh, maybe this person can help me too, because people just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, it's just like in a movie. People like the movies the best with characters that you can relate to.
100%. Yep.
Right. It's just like, I just watched this movie, Catch Me If You Can. Right.
Great movie.
Like the kid is just another kid.
Yep.
Parents are getting a divorce, and then obviously his story after that is 1 in a million, and it'll never happen again.
Yep.
Most likely because it's almost impossible to do check frauds now,
yeah.
because it's like,
first of all, checks are going out.
Yeah, it's
electronic money.
Yeah, like checks. Like I only use check, for small things, like rent and stuff like that. But all my invoices are sent through PayPal and everything like that. Like I haven't got paid cash for this business like maybe 5 times. The only thing is the percentages that they take is kind of annoying.
I know.
But
then you know what you do?
Yeah.
Increase your rate.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's tough. But
I know.
I switched over to QuickBooks finally.
Yes,
so,
that's a game changer.
Yeah,
it's an investment, but it keeps you.
Yeah, I have a bookkeeper too, and they're awesome.
Okay, good.
So this is a free shout out to Overview Consulting, Ben Hall. I met him through
Nice.
BNI.
Oh, yes.
So actually, the last time I met him was when I met Brenda Curry. So she was awesome.
Yes.
But such a shame.
I know.
But anyways, yeah. So marketing is, I guess, the biggest takeaway is word of mouth, and it's different for every company.
Yeah, it works what, like, you have to just analyze what is working, what is already working, and use that.
Yeah.
And go with it, and then you can slowly add the other stuff.
Yeah. So another thing I'd like to talk about is, so obviously you started with your, eventually you got to a customer base.
Yes.
And then there's sort of that second hump that you have to get over to get that customer base to continue coming to you. Do you think there was a challenge within that of continuing on after you grew?
So I use have you heard of Constant Contact?
Yes.
So
yes.
that's really big. Like, you collect emails from people, right? Collect emails, you put them in your Constant Contact or whatever system you're using. MailChimp is another one. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah.
And you send out maybe a newsletter, or maybe every once in a while you send out a story of a success story and something that resonates in that subject line, which I'm still learning how to, the problem with emails these days is that everything is, we're bombarded with emails.
Yeah, you look at your inbox, there's thousands of stuff.
But every once in a while, people do read them, and so especially the people that remember who you are, you help them, with one injury, and then they'll come back. So that helps. But the biggest program that we started this year is our Wellness Warrior program. So that is basically like a monthly membership for physical therapy. So this is usually for someone that's already finished like a bout of treatment. They're good, but they're active, and they want to make sure they stay on top of their injuries. They want to be proactive with their health. They want, they're more this is more of a prevention program. And so they come once a month for a full treatment, and then they have access to us whenever they want. So they'll call me up and be like, I just did this to my ankle. Like, what should I do? We can talk them through it. And this type of program keeps them out of the doctor's office, keeps them out of, surgery, and they keep coming back to us on a monthly basis or every other month, depending on what they need.
Well, I was told by somebody that monthly subscriptions are the best.
Yes.
Because you know what you're going to make 6 months out usually.
Yes.
And it's huge for a business to, because it makes it easier to spend money on certain things. I mean, I'm still learning all the proper verbiage for things like that. So I'm not like cash flow. Is that
cash flow?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
You have cash flow. The other thing that gives you cash flow is selling like a package or selling a bundle.
Yeah. Because it's perfect because you're not necessarily losing money. You're just I mean, it is cutting into your margins, but you're not necessarily losing money.
Yeah,
at
you
all.
can guarantee you're going to get so much on 1 month.
Exactly. And I'd love to do something like that. Like I had thought of like a 3D printer supply, like monthly payment. Like
Right.
you get like a different type of filament every month
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. And maybe some new tools and a cool 3D printed item
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, like maybe marketing materials
Yeah.
for some company. That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah, but it's just tough because people have 3D printers, just buy that stuff anyways. But it would be great for beginners and things like that. So I don't know. That's,
You could sell like bundled, like if someone's buying some sort of product, you learn to like upsell them, I guess, on like if you get this for a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you'd have to like figure out what that person may need.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so when it comes to, like I said, marketing and things like that, it's really interesting and really cool. And that initial hump of after you grow, I feel like, and I read this book called The E-Myth.
Oh, I listened to it on
Yes.
on a drive. Yes.
Yeah. Jeremy Walsh recommended
Yep.
that, and he's going to be on the podcast.
Yep.
He'll be in 2 weeks, but I'm
Yes.
recording it
Cool.
today.
Yep.
Actually, but yeah, and it's a great book, especially for people who have a business and have established it. He talks about starting a business, but I feel like the biggest takeaway was knowing how to run a successful business, and that's the biggest reason why a lot of small businesses go out of business. Is not necessarily because they have a lack of clientele and money coming in. It's just because a lot of times people don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that because my goal as a business owner is to have a successful, efficient business that I am not working at 40 to 60 hours a week.
You're enjoying it.
Yes.
You're right. Like sometimes people say, "Oh, are you at work?"
Yeah.
And I'm here. I'm at my shop.
Yeah.
Like I like this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, like a year ago, if I had said that I had even this office, it's small, but I love it to have my own place to work on my 3D printers and to be able to do this, have a conversation with people.
Totally.
And I would have been
your
like
flexibility. Yeah.
I would have been like, I want that, but I don't think it's going to happen. But here I am.
It's happening.
And I'm forever thankful to the people that helped me get here. But it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like that book, and what was it? It was the manager,
so I was saying the manager and like the technician, basically.
Technician,
yeah.
yes.
So because I say clinician, right? So I'm the physical therapist, the clinician, the manager, and the owner, right? Or entrepreneur, yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're 3 in 1.
Yeah, because exactly, when you start your own business. But he said a lot of times the technician starts a business 9 times out of 10, essentially, because you can't really get started if you don't know how to do it.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the case. I'm going to get into the lore of 3D printing here, but there in the early 2010s is this great documentary you should watch called Print the Legend Print the Legend on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's about 3D printing. And I probably enjoyed a lot because I'm in the industry, but I think it's just a great watch. But there's this company called MakerBot that first started in 2009, but they didn't really grow to prevalence until like 11 or 12. And basically before them, 3D printing was all industrial. Like the cheapest 3D printer you could buy was like $10,000-$15,000, and nobody could afford them, only big companies. And they sort of had a monopoly over additive manufacturing. There's this company called Stratasys, which is FDM, which is all the printers I have.
Okay.
And then there's a company called 3D Systems.
Okay.
And they're both public companies.
Okay.
That did SLA, which is that red printer. They invented that technology.
Right.
And it was crazy expensive. And then MakerBot comes along and creates an FDM machine for $2,000. And then Formlabs comes along, which is based in Massachusetts, and has a SLA printer for like $4,000.
Okay.
Right? And just because they're cheap doesn't necessarily mean, or
They're
cheap,
good. Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily mean they push out worse products than the industrial machines.
Okay.
The great thing about the industrial machines and what they have going for them is their production ability. Like they're able to go over and over and over and over and over. Like these will be able to do that, but every, 10 to 15 prints, you'll probably have to fix something.
Yep.
And sometimes if you're lucky, you'll get on a longer run than that, especially if you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to think I'm a technician when it comes to these things, but there's still a lot I can learn. Like I know I've been in 3D printing since freshman year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked with almost every brand of 3D printers, and including industrial, because I did an internship. And you're still learning things about the industry. But anyways, I'm going back to the technician thing. I got off track. So MakerBot had 3 owners.
Okay.
Bree Pettis, and then I can't remember the other 2 guys' names. But he was the entrepreneur. Then there was a guy that did software and a guy that did the hardware.
Okay.
And guess who was left at the end of the company? Hey there. Sorry to interrupt the episode, but I just want to take this chance to tell you to share the podcast on your social media platforms. Link it on your Instagram story. Follow Knowledge is Power _Rhode Island on Instagram, and leave a review on Apple Podcast if you're listening on that platform. So thanks for listening, guys, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
The entrepreneur.
Exactly. Because he, once he basically used his technicians, who he called his friends, went completely against their advice and did what he wanted to do. Now, I must say he's worth $50 million right now because they sold to Stratasys, which is the industrial company that they sought out to destroy, but then they sold out. So, not very good. But basically the breaking point between them was going from open source to closed source. Basically, anybody could, like, all these machines I have, I can replace them with different parts. It doesn't have to be the Creality branded things. It can be anything. They went from that to closed source, just like Apple has always been, other than the Apple II in the 80s. But like this MacBook, you can't put a chip in it. Like, only Apple can do that. You have to bring it's
back to Apple.
Exactly. And that works for Apple because it's who they are.
Right.
And Steve Jobs basically perfectly encapsulated that.
A long time ago.
Yes. And MakerBot was built upon open source. And I guess Apple was too. But when it comes to computers, it's different because everybody could use one. And at that particular time, and it's so weird, as I'm saying this, it brings more to light between the two companies and how similar they are. Apple II built Apple, open source built MakerBot, just like how open source built each other. And then they both went to closed source. Now MakerBot has still grown, but they flatlined. Okay. And they need to figure out what to do because there's so much competition now. And same thing with Apple, but they're still a $1 trillion company. I think they have $2 trillion market cap now. Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Crazy.
So they captured something that MakerBot couldn't. And MakerBot is probably trying to figure that out because Bree Pettis, the entrepreneur, loves Steve Jobs. And I do too. Yeah. But I'm not going to sell out. Right. I won't do it. Nope. Even if they offer me $250 million, I'm not in it for the money.
Good for you. Well, then that's...
And that's easy to say as I don't have $250 million. But that's what I'd like to think. But Formlabs, that company I talked about earlier, that guy hasn't sold his company yet. They're a $1 billion company now. Okay. And that guy is worth a lot more than $50 million. So who's laughing now? The guy who sold out or the guy who didn't sell out and built his brand? True. Exactly. To what he was because they set out to destroy 3D Systems. Yep. And guess what? 3D Systems is struggling. And I mean, you'll see their stock price go up and down because that's what 3D printing is. It's very trendy. They'll release a new printer and you see the stock price raised by like $2. And they'll be like, oh my God, they're coming back. And then they'll just dip back down because they're like, it goes back to marketing. Right. They're very traditional in the sense of marketing company. It's all, we're professional, we're this. They're not.
Relatable.
Exactly. And that's why you see companies like MakerBot, when it first came out, was all over the news. You probably watched it and you don't even realize it, but probably in the early 2000s, early 2010s, it was all over the news. Okay. That guy, Bree Pettis, all over. He was on NBC, all those big news channels. But it's just funny to see,
Yeah.
you know, that happen in real life.
Right.
The entrepreneur and the technicians
Yeah.
fall out. And I know that's sort of a long, convoluted story about
Technicians and
exactly.
entrepreneurs and
But that's what happens. That guy that founded Formlabs was a technician. But he had a little bit of entrepreneur in him. Not in the sense that Brie Pettis was, he could get up on a stage and talk, but he knew how to run a company.
Yes.
And look where he is now.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's interesting. I think it's a personality thing. Like, you know, you made a good comment about, like, there's always stuff to learn in your industry. And, like, I think when people think they know it all and they don't want to continue to grow in their skill, then, you know, you might hit a standstill. So, like, you and I want to continue to learn the newest way to, you know, to print something, or I want to learn the newest way to treat a specific diagnosis. And so that keeps your brain going, keeps you interested in your field. But that also, like, you also have that drive to learn how to grow and develop a successful, efficient business too. So, like, I enjoy learning this. It's a new thing to do. On top, it keeps you from getting stale. You can get creative. You can use your creative side, where if you're working for someone, you just kind of go through the same old thing every day. And sometimes people get bored of that, and then they don't do a great job because they're not interested anymore. So I think that's one cool thing about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And the best thing about being an entrepreneur is being your own boss.
Yes.
I think, because in my experience, I felt like I could run certain things better than certain people are. I'm not going to say those certain things or who those certain people are, but I felt like I could give insight into things and they just weren't listening to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a 19-year-old kid. I mean, who wants to listen? Who wants to say, "Oh, this 19-year-old kid is right"? And I know I sound like an egotistical douchebag right now, but that's how I feel.
No, I don't think so. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, but I just feel like when I watch things transpire, that I'm like, oh no, like why?
Yeah.
You have to learn to adapt. You have to learn to change, and you can't be stuck in your ways. Because that's how you lose customers.
Yes.
And
one of the things I always, if there's an issue, especially as you grow a team of people that are working with you, if there's an issue, I always reflect, like, maybe I didn't train that person correctly, or maybe I wasn't transparent about a specific topic. Maybe I wasn't clear. Maybe my communication was poor. And I think that people need to have a little self-reflection before they start blaming, you know, like things that happen that go wrong and in the day-to-day stuff. And I've seen that happen in other businesses, where it's just like people get mad because there's mistakes being happen. Well, you know, take a little break and figure out what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
Where are you missing?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I love running my own company. Like, there's no way I just love to do it. And this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I've been saying in my head, I haven't really said this out loud, but I said, I'm going to change the world. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what it's going to be. And I don't know, you know, what I need to do.
Yeah, but you'll do it.
But I want to do it.
That's
I want to,
so cool.
and if it's in 3D printing, that's what I want to do. And I just want to learn more about it because it's such a cool technology and it's forever growing.
Oh yeah, I mean, the stuff that you could probably build for, I mean, so I think medical, right? That's where my brain goes. So like anything medical, and you know, the medical system is flawed, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So we need more people like you to figure out how we can help people and make a change.
When it comes to medical, I don't know the first thing about that stuff.
Yeah,
but I mean, I've seen medical models, like people have printed organs, not with my machines, but with very specialized machines that cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. But I've seen it happen. And where I used to work, we had medical models. They use this technology called PolyJet, and they could do high detailed models, and they could do clear, they could do flexible. It's really cool stuff with that machine. The only drawback is the price. It's expensive, but you get what you pay for.
Right.
But then again, I do have a printer that can print in 5 colors. That's less expensive.
Yeah.
But they could do higher detail, and that machine is pretty cool to watch work. Like sometimes I'd find myself just standing there
Watching it.
I'm like, this is what you're getting for your $15 an hour. Me just standing here watching your
it work.
printer. I'm just like, oh, that's so cool.
But I mean, think about it. Like you said, this industry will wait in 10 years. Like, what's
Yeah.
going to happen with the machines?
I truly believe that 3D printing will make injection molding and CNC manufacturing obsolete
Wow.
within the next 20 years. Because there's something called SLS. You can print in metal. You can 3D print metal.
Wow.
Goodbye CNC. Like
Yep.
when that technology advances and becomes really fast and efficient, CNC will be gone. Because that's the biggest thing it has is its ability to do metal, but now you can print in metal.
Right.
It's just a difficult process. It's not as easy as CNC.
Yep.
And injection molding, the only thing that has over 3D printing, which is a big thing, is long run production.
Okay.
Right. So if I wanted to produce this pawn, right, in 3D printing, I could buy a $500 3D printer.
Okay.
And then buy $100 worth of filament and be in for $600 and create a couple thousand of these. But if I wanted to create a couple 100,000 of these, that's where injection molding comes out better, because your price per is more expensive, right? Let's say the price per of this is 5 cents to create this pawn, whereas and your upfront price is $600.
Okay.
Injection molding, in order to create a mold for this, it's $20,000,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
But then your price per will be half a cent.
Gotcha.
So eventually, depending on how many models, I can't do that quick math in my head, but eventually, once you get to that point, injection molding becomes less expensive. And basically, the biggest thing is time, right?
Okay.
It'll take an hour to print this,
Wow.
maybe a little bit less. And when injection molding, like, it can push us out like tens of thousands in, I don't know, a week. You know, maybe I don't know a lot about injection molding. I just know the statistics on that part. I don't really know how the machine works, but
So can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Could you like recycle certain products that like plastic to make stuff?
Yes. So they actually make a machine, a couple different ones that are on the market, where you can basically melt down the plastic.
Okay.
And it pushes it down into a tube and creates a filament.
Okay.
Now the thing about that is, if you have different colors,
Right.
it doesn't come out as good. So you need to sort out the colors.
Yeah.
And the machines that they make that do that, it's not really cost efficient.
Gotcha.
And a lot of companies don't do that are big.
Maybe that's the thing, Max.
Well, that's the thing is
How can we?
if they haven't done it, there's probably a reason, because it's such an obvious thing. Because to do it on a large scale, to recycle the used 3D printing plastic, and a lot of times there'll be, chunks of things that you don't realize that are in it. Like maybe your nozzle chipped. I mean, that's rare, but there's a piece of metal that got in it. And then that tiny fragment of metal is just going to completely destroy your whole setup.
Gotcha.
And then it's just, there's probably something I'm not even thinking of.
Yeah.
But that's probably why they haven't done it, because
Okay.
there are manufacturers in China that create 3D printing filament like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it,
Yeah.
there's definitely a reason behind it. I mean, I've looked into doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can buy a machine that does it for, you'd probably be all in like $1,500, which isn't crazy.
No.
But then you have to buy a respooling machine to spool it back onto the
Gotcha.
spools.
Yep.
And that's a pain in the butt, but I don't know, it's just be a interesting thing.
Yeah. Longer process.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if we could, learn how to reuse plastic and
Yeah, well,
make
I
stuff
can
with
I can
it.
tell you that the industrial machines waste a lot of plastic,
Yeah.
because they have cartridges, right? So you look around here, like these are just spools that you put in the printer, and you can use as much of it as you want until it runs out. But industrial machines have an NFC chip in it,
Okay.
and it guesstimates what's left. It doesn't have like a sensor in there watching it, telling it when it runs out of filament. It says, "Oh, I'm out of filament," and then you'll look, and then there's still like a half a kilogram left,
Oh wow.
like half of one of these spools left in it, and it's like that's a lot of plastic.
Yeah.
And especially like companies like Protolabs that have thousands of printers,
Right.
like that's a lot of plastic
that they're left over.
Yeah. So I definitely think there's a way to get around that.
Yep.
Just have to think about it. But that's definitely an interesting business venture that maybe I'll look into.
Yeah.
But
Just a random thought.
yeah, I mean, but you'll see. I mean, the great thing about so this is printed in PLA,
Okay.
polylytic acid,
Gotcha.
and it's cornstarch based.
Oh.
So it's actually has a better half-life than a lot of other plastics.
Okay.
It biodegrades a lot faster.
Okay.
Whereas ABS, it's a stronger plastic,
Yep.
but it doesn't. It's worse for the environment.
Gotcha.
But it's 6 of 1, half a dozen. I mean,
Okay.
it's not going to make a massive difference. But I don't know. That's a really interesting point, though.
Change the world. So
Yeah,
back
exactly.
To that comment.
well, it's funny you talk about recycling because in high school we did this incubator class,
Okay.
and it's basically Shark Tank, but in a high
Okay.
school settings. I talked a little bit about this in a couple podcasts ago.
Yep.
But there's a guy that won, created this recycling bin that you got paid to recycle,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Which already exists.
Okay.
But he created it, quote unquote. But the thing is, the partner in his group created that idea, and then he left because he went to CCRI his last half of high school.
Yep.
And then this kid just ran with the idea, and he won the contest. I was pissed. I was like,
That
it's
wasn't
like,
his idea.
no, and it's already been created. Just Google it. Like, it's
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Like-
So he stole the.
Yeah, I don't think he stole it knowingly.
Yeah. He just
Yeah.
thought of it and didn't look it up.
Exactly. Which is weird. They probably realized it a long time down the way, but our idea was so much better. Like we had this idea. It was a telescope that basically you hooked it up to your phone, and it could automatically go to star correlations and
wow.
planets.
Yep.
And we had like a regular one for your house, and we had a small mobile one,
Okay.
and we had one that you could put on your roof.
Oh.
And then you could hook it up to your TV.
Yep.
And it's great for nursing homes because you could just stargaze
Yep.
live in the nursing homes.
Cool.
And it's really relaxing for patients.
Right.
Because our mentor was a guy that owned a fish tank company. You've heard me talk about him before.
Yes.
Kurt
yes.
Harrington. Great guy. And he did fish tanks. He's like, we do a lot of nursing homes because it's a relaxing thing.
Right.
And he had talked about that, and we said, that's a brilliant idea.
That is a good idea.
So I'm giving free ideas out here.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you write these, patent them, then
Yeah.
put them in an envelope,
Yeah,
stamp on
exactly.
it.
Yeah, so maybe I might try to do that too. Like I got ideas, but I didn't think of that either. But one of my friends in the group did, and I helped streamline it and come up with different ideas. But they thought of it, and I actually have a 3D printed model that we did in high school because one of the classes we had a couple 3D printers, and I went into SolidWorks and I designed a telescope of what I thought it was going to look like.
Oh,
and it was
wow.
pretty sweet.
That's
yeah.
so cool.
It's a very crude design,
Yeah.
but I did it, and I was like, this is awesome.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I mean, that's what is great about 3D printing
Yeah.
is that you could help anybody out who has the next big business idea
Yeah.
for cheap.
Right. Right.
You know, like traditional prototyping is good for certain things, but when you want to save a penny, like
Yeah.
3D printing is the way to go.
Way to go.
Even on the
Totally.
industrial side, it's less expensive than
Yeah.
traditional prototyping.
Right.
You know, like carving a piece of wood
Oh,
or
yes.
something like that, or
Yes.
CNC.
Yep.
But still, you need to design something.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
I
neat.
feel like I've been talking most of this time. I'm sorry.
Totally fine.
Yeah, but you're my
I'm learning
guest.
a lot.
Yeah. But the thing is some of I've talked about this in past podcasts, so I don't really want to talk about things twice. But
It's okay.
yeah. But so I guess so we're around 50 minutes. So what do you think? So I sort of asked this question.
Okay.
Right. If you wanted to be remembered for one quote,
Oh boy.
yeah, and I put it on
I
paper.
know.
So
To prepare me.
yes. What would that be?
Ooh.
So if you want me to talk while you think about it a little bit, but it's
Okay.
yeah,
So number 6.
yes,
The last day. All right.
yeah,
I guess so I'm a new mother, right?
Yes.
So I'm a new person these
Yeah.
past 7 months.
Yes. Very
And
cute baby.
Yes, she is. Little Adeline. She's my pride and joy.
Yeah.
But my child has taught me a lot in
Yeah.
7 months. And I think as adults, we get really, tied up with the day to day and like always thinking about what I'm going to do next and how I'm going to make the next big thing and, planning and organizing and, I look at my daughter and she, gets so impressed by the bird that just flew into the window or like she gets so excited over like the littlest thing. And I think that as adults we need to try to take that inner child in us sometimes and just enjoy the little things and just like see what's around you and just like take it all in and feel it and smell it and taste it, whatever, and just truly enjoy it and be present with it because life goes by fast.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm coaching a baseball team, and we got, I don't know, it was just a stupid altercation about practice scheduling, and like emails are flying back. I'm like, this is so stupid.
It's a waste of time.
Like, this is so stupid. And I said that in the email. I'm like really? Like, we're here to coach baseball, have fun. You know, kids have fun. Like, this is so stupid.
I know.
Like, come on. I said, so this is life's too short to be fighting about this sort of stuff. But, and I also want to get your thoughts on this quote. So I said this quote to Benjamin as well.
Yep.
And I sort of thought of this, but, so patience is a virtue. That's how it starts off. My dad always told me that growing up. And, but the ability to know when to be patient is even more important because life is too short to be patient all the time. So what are your thoughts on that quote?
I feel like, oh gosh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
If we're, life is too short to be patient all the time.
Yeah.
I think you have a balance, this balance of life that we're always trying to balance. In reality, like there is no such thing as balance. But
I mean, if you want to go by that route, there's really no such thing as anything because everything's made up.
Yeah, yeah. So we could go down a deep hole here, but I think that just be. With business, be patient and just keep doing what's working and look at what's not working. And if it's not working, make a change.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. But it's, oh, crap. I forgot what I was going to say again. I think I need to get better at remembering what I'm going to say because I forget.
It's hard.
But yeah, definitely. It's just, I really like that quote. Oh, because I've had, life experiences made me realize that life could, I mean, I hate to get depressing here, could end in an instant. Like it just ends and there's nothing you can do to control it. My great aunt always says, sometimes God just opens up his book and points at a name and that's who's going today and there's nothing you could do about it. And that's why I thought of that was, I mean, patience is a great thing to have and to be good at, but you only live once and you have to make light of everything that happens and you have to take advantage of every moment that happens. And that's why I want to do this. That's why I want to have my own company now. If I had advice, my 19-year-old self giving advice to people who listen, don't wait.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Just do. That's like when I wanted to do this podcast, I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about it. And I looked at the price of the microphones and I'm like, oh, that's sort of, I said, you know what? Stop.
Yep.
Buy the dang microphones, do it.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't work, you're only going to be out X amount of money.
Yeah.
And the potential customer base you could get from it is worth it.
Yeah. I mean.
And the things you could learn from guests.
Yeah.
And the things that you could help them out with because it's a great marketing thing. Hopefully, eventually, when this catches on a little bit more, it'll be great for people.
Totally.
But it's just that's sort of my biggest takeaway is don't wait.
Don't wait. Yeah. And people make mistakes. You spend money that you shouldn't have spent money on and you learn from it. But as long as you just keep going forward and it is what it is. That's how life goes. Right. You learn from your mistakes, but you got to try it because it's better off learning from a mistake than not trying at all and not seeing what could have happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's different for everybody.
It is.
I guess that's the thing.
It is different for everybody.
If you don't want to do it, then I guess there's nothing I can do to stop you from not doing it. But that's just my advice, from the limited experience of this thing we call life that I have. But yeah, so
Cool.
awesome. So this has been a great
Yes.
talk, great conversation, and make sure to check out Amanda at Restore Physical Therapy in Cranston, Rhode Island. Now I would go up there, but it's like half the state.
Yeah, I know.
So,
It's past the towers.
yeah, I
It's
know.
a little
It's-
bit of a ride.
It is. It's like a whole 30 minutes. God forbid in Rhode Island you have to drive 30 minutes.
know.
That's like down the road for my grandparents in northern Maine. 30 minutes. It's like, oh yeah, it's down the road. I look 30 minutes. I'm like, we're not there yet. He goes, it's down the road.
I know.
In Rhode Island, it's half the state.
Yep.
But anyways, yeah. So it's been a great conversation, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This has been great.
Yeah, so if anybody listening wants to come on the podcast or has any questions or questions I should ask my guests, email me at knowledgeispowerri@gmail.com. And thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure to share this. Follow me on Spotify. I don't know if I'm on Apple Podcasts yet, but I'm going to have to figure that out. If I am, leave me a review. And thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.